Okay, so we're going to replace the third lymphatic lymphatic system set of notes because I don't think that it has any audio. So hopefully this works. So let me see here. Let me try to get it bigger for you. I can't get it to enlarge. Okay, so when we look at this, the first question is, what do the non-specific defenses include? So non-specific defenses are things that are very general. They're protecting your body against anything. They're not developed against a specific pathogen. So our first line of defense is barriers to entry. So any kind of physical or chemical defense. The second line of defense is smaller, or not as big picture. So those are white blood cells that are going to engulf the pathogen or the allergen. The inflammatory response is how our body reacts. And then we make some proteins that are protective. One kind is called complement proteins and the other kind is called interferon. And you might have heard of interferon. It's actually in the we just watched Dallas Buyers Club, and they talk about interferon to fight AIDS or HIV. Okay, so physical barriers include skin. Okay, so the skin is a dry place where most bacteria don't want to live. When it's really moist, it's a good place for them to live. And if there's a puncture in it, then we can get bacteria or other pathogens inside our body. Okay, so tears, saliva, and the urine all flush out microbes. The mucous membranes that line our mouth, any of our openings are lined by mucous membranes. So our respiratory tract, our digestive tract, urinary tract, reproductive tract, they're all lined with this sticky membrane. And the sticky membrane, bacteria or other pathogens get in and they get stuck in that membrane. And then the white blood cells can come up and engulf them. Another thing that's considered our first line of defense are the normal flora that live in our body. The normal flora, the normal bacteria, they take up space and lots of nutrients so that things that are bad for us can't come in and live there. So it's like competitive. So there's a lot of research going on and a lot of things in the news about the normal microbiota that are in your body. It's a kind of a trendy thing right now. Okay, we have chemical barriers. So things that come from the oil glands will destroy bacteria, or we have a lot of bacteria that infect our body. So that's why I keep saying bacteria. Lysozyme is a lysing enzyme, and that's found in your saliva, in your tears, and in your sweat. And what it does is it'll, when it comes in contact with the pathogen, it'll cause it to break down to lyse. The stomach and the vagina are very acidic, so things that live in a neutral pH can't survive there, so they die. Okay, now, the second line of defense are white blood cells that phagocytize. Okay, so phagocytic white blood cells are blood cells that engulf. So remember when we talked about cell transport and endocytosis? Phagocytosis is a type of endocytosis. So these include two types of phagocytic white blood cells are neutrophils and macrophages. So they're just two different kinds of white blood cells. So neutrophils are always called neutrophils. Macrophages can be called monocytes. Okay, what's neat about these two types of cells is that they leave the bloodstream and they can hang out in your tissue, and then they can attack anything that doesn't look like self, that doesn't look like it belongs there. Okay, so these cells are also going to trigger the rest of your immune system to respond. So it's almost like they're show-offs. They're going to engulf the pathogen, and then they're going to say to the other cells, look, this is what I killed. You need to come help me out. Okay, the second line of defense is this inflammatory response, and they know so much about it, so you're getting a really short, concise description of what it is. So the 4 hallmark symptoms of inflammation are redness. Okay, so when something gets red, when it's inflamed, it's hot, it swells up, and it hurts. Okay, histamine is one of the chemicals that's released, and that causes all your little capillaries to get bigger, and they become more permeable to the phagocytic white blood cells. It's also going to take more blood to that tissue, so it's going to get red and it's going to get hot. So this increased blood flow makes it warm, okay, and if it's too warm, the pathogens won't grow. And this more blood is going to make have the white blood cells get there faster. The inflammatory response can be short-lived, but the neutrophils could take care of it. Like, it might get inflamed and then it gets better. But if it doesn't, then there are chemicals that are released that are going to call in the rest of the army, that is your immune system. Pick this slide that you can't see the colors. This is the summary of the inflammatory response. So if you look here, right here's, you don't have to know all these gory details, but here's what happens. So the tissue's damaged, and there's cells in here called mast cells, and the mast cells release histamine. So what the histamine does is it causes the capillaries to get bigger, so they dilate, and that's going to increase your blood flow. Okay, the macrophages are going to come in, they're going to gobble up the pathogens, they're going to release another chemical called cytokine. Okay, these neutrophils and monocytes, okay, can leave the blood and enter the tissue and continue to engulf the pathogen. Okay, and then if you were wounded, okay, the blood clots, okay, and that's going to prevent you from losing any more blood, which is a good thing, right? Okay, now the protective proteins are pretty cool. So complement proteins are a group of blood plasma proteins, and what they do is they bind to these certain cells called mast cells. Okay, and what happens is they can form this thing called a membrane attack complex. And the membrane attack complex can attack the virus and destroy it, or they can attack a bacteria. And what they do is they'll put holes in it. When they put holes in it, then the fluids will leak out of it, and it'll destroy it that way. Okay, interferon is a protein produced by our white blood cells, and what interferon does is it's going to, if you're infected with a virus, the cells that get infected, a white blood cell that's infected with the virus sends out interferon, and interferon's kind of like calling in for reinforcements. So what it'll do is it'll create a better immune response so that you can protect yourself against the pathogens. Okay, specific defenses are considered the third line of defense. Okay, so specific defenses are going to help us when our general non-specific defenses fail. So they also help protect us against cancer, and they're dependent on the action of B and T cells. Okay, so B and T cells are types of lymphocytes. Okay, so here's a summary table of B and C cells. The big difference between them, B cells make antibodies. Okay, so B cells and antibodies go together. They both have B in them. Okay, T cells are almost like they kind of control your control your immune response. So I think of like some of them, these helper T cells, as like the general of the army. So what these helper T cells do is they're going to control your specific immune response. Okay, we have cytotoxic T cells that just kind of kill things, and then memory T cells, which remember what pathogens you've seen so that you're ready to kill them in the future. Okay, B cells, all I really want you to know is that they make antibodies. That we have more information about that, but you don't have to know specifically how B cells are produced, so we can just kind of skip over that. Here's how you can see. Here's a B cell, and the B cell actually makes antibodies. So these little things out here, this is what an antibody would look like. Okay, so here's an antibody. Okay, so it's a Y-shaped protein. They know all about the chemistry of them. There are heavy chains, there are light chains, and what they do, so they're Y-shaped proteins, they're going to bind to what's causing the immune response. So when they bind to that, then they take it out of circulation so it can't hurt you anymore. So they can tag it, so the white blood cells will come in and gobble it up, or they could just take it out of your blood, out of your body. And you don't have to know the 5 classes of antibodies. Don't worry about that. Okay, T cells. Okay, T cells, they're going to control specific immunity. There's way more detail on here than you really need to know, so don't worry about that too much. Helper T cells are the big ones. They're the general of the army. Sometimes they're called T4s. T4s are the ones that control your immune system. So HIV affects T4s. So if you take out your immune system, your body can't respond. Okay, so this talks all about that, and you don't have to memorize all that. You don't have to memorize all that. Okay, helper T cells, they control it. Those are the general. Cytotoxic T cells, those are kind of like I'd say like the infantry. They're going to come in and they're going to kill for the general. Cytotoxic T cells, the way that they kill is really cool. They make a protein called perforin, and if you think about perforated paper, so perforated paper has got little holes so you can tear it. So perforins actually punch holes into the pathogen cell, and then the insides will leak out. And then they'll release an enzyme in here that'll, so they push a hole in, they put an enzyme in here that digests everything, and then the insides leak out the holes. Pretty gross, huh? Okay, so immunity is how we, in general, what it is how we combat diseases and cancer. Okay, so lots of times cancer is, we have millions of cells, and they're going through mitosis all the time. So if they are mutations, what happens is our body recognizes those mutations and kills the cancer cells before they become a tumor or cause problems in your body. So cancer is happening all the time, but it doesn't become a problem because our immune system normally controls it. Okay, now immunity is the way that we are protected against something. So we have 2 types of immunity, active and passive. Okay, so active immunity is when our body makes the antibodies to the antigen. Okay, so it could happen if you're infected with something. So say you get chickenpox. Okay, so if you get infected with chickenpox, your body makes antibodies to the chickenpox, and then the next time you're exposed to chickenpox, you don't get them anymore. Okay, now, nowadays we immunize against chickenpox. Okay, so you get a vaccine, okay, and it might have a little bit of dead chickenpox virus in there, and you make antibodies to that dead chickenpox virus, so next time you're exposed to chickenpox virus, you don't get it. Okay, so active immunity is usually really long-lasting, and it's totally dependent on your B and T cells. That's what's going to control it. Okay, so here's just a little graph of active immunity. So the first time you're exposed, like if you get a vaccine, the first time you're exposed, you create a little immune response, and then you get exposed to the pathogen again, and you have a stronger immune response. Passive immunity is when somebody's given the antibodies, okay, or it's passed naturally from the mom to the fetus or in breast milk. Okay, so an example of antibodies that could be injected would be like if you had a snake bite and they gave you anti-venom, you would be getting an antibody that way. We make antibodies synthetically in a lab or in a biomanufacturing facility, And we use those to inject to people, and you don't have to know the whole process of how that's done. I talk about that in biomanufacturing a lot, but you don't have to worry about it right here. I'm trying to think where I need to end. Oops. I guess I'll just keep going because I think I have more slides of this. The immune system can overreact to things. So when you have an allergic reaction to something, that's your immune system responding in a manner that we don't necessarily want. So it could be over responding. If you get a tissue transplant, your body starts fighting off that piece of whatever they put in you, a kidney or whatever. Autoimmune disorders are due to an overactive immune system. Okay, so here's all about allergies. So allergies are hypersensitivities, so you over-respond to something. And here's more about tissue rejection. I just really want you to know the basics about it. Disorders of the immune system, so they're categorized two different ways. So there are autoimmune diseases. So an autoimmune disease is when your body starts attacking itself as if it was foreign. There are lots of autoimmune diseases, and it seems like there's more all the time. So MS is believed to be autoimmune, lupus, myasthenia gravis, rheumatoid arthritis. So all of those are considered autoimmune diseases. Immunodeficiency just means that it's the opposite. So you don't have an immune system that works properly. Okay, and I don't even think this is in our new book. This is about antiseptics and disinfecting. Antiseptics and disinfecting, the goal is to remove organisms that could cause disease or to keep them from growing. Antiseptics are things that are used on skin, on living tissue, and disinfectants are things that are used on surfaces. Disinfectants, there's a whole bunch of different, I have a couple videos on here. So heat could kill some of them. So if you think about an autoclave, like at the dentist's office or at the, like in a surgery suite, or even if you're getting a tattoo, they have an autoclave, and the autoclave is going to kill the bacteria that are on the instruments. Most of the way an autoclave works is it's high heat and it's a high pressure. So that pressure allows us to get to a higher temperature, and that's going to be what kills everything. The chemicals could kill bacteria, they could kill fungi, they could kill viruses. Okay, and then there's the little points to ponder. Let me try to figure out how to stop it. Pause.